Good morning, everybody. You guys have eaten everything. All the food is gone, and you guys are still hungry. All right, Micah. Add some more feed to that. Here, take it. Thank you. Get this other feeder here. I always tend to get the pine shavings inside of it. All right, we need some more water. All right, you got it all filled up? Mm-hmm. You think they're ready for breakfast?
Yep.
Oh, they are super hungry. Make sure we don't crush anybody. There you go. You want to fill that one up too?
Yeah. Oh.
There's some more.
Ah.
There you go. Having a little trouble?
Yep.
All right. Now turn it. Can you turn it? Don't hurt yourself. All right, before we fill these waters up, let's go check on the ducks. Think they're hungry too?
Yeah.
All right, can you get the feeder out? Get the feeder and water out. Got the water. Go ahead and come on this side and get the feeder. On this side. You don't have to climb in, but that's fine. You're in there now. Don't throw it out, okay? Get the tray too that we've been using as a feeder. We've been getting them a lot of feed and a little poop in there, but we'll go ahead and wash that out at the same time we get feed.
And you're gonna do this.
Yeah, we're gonna do that too.
I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah.
Open it.
Excuse me. I do believe in keeping things sanitary. No animal should be eating its own feces or anything like that. However, things don't need to be ultra sanitized because that's not good either. So I don't completely clean out all the dirt and things like that from our animals and their water, because if they were out in nature, they're going to be out drinking in ponds and lakes and things that aren't super ultra sanitized and sparkly clear clean. They need the bacteria and different things that are in things that we don't consider clean. But once again, like I said, no animal needs to be eating its own feces. So cleaned out that, the junk, the poop from their feeder there, and in their water as well. Ah man, we forgot. We were supposed to move them first. Ah, we gotta take their feet out in water. Move them. Oh, they're gonna be like you're teasing us. They're teasing us. Alright, so I gotta move them.
There you pull it.
Gotta get both. Watch out. Gotta even it up. Okay. Go with me. slow, nice and slow. Eat some of that grass and leaves. A little more.
You're gonna hit them more hard.
Also, each time that we move them in the chicken tractor, or duck tractor in this case, we move them out of the previous day's excrement, poop, whatever you want to call it, and onto a fresher area. We don't have much grass quite yet, and we're gradually moving them over to an area where we do have more grass for them to eat on. So we are going to bring them some nice veg here in just a minute, but we got to actually put their food and water back in now. Get that other feeder. Breakfast buffet. Fill it one, then go down. What is your feathery bottom doing up there? Come on down. Oh, watch out now. Those two are thirsty. These Cornish crosses are like hungry hippos. They are just, and thirsty. They're constantly needing feed and water. Much more so. Look at there. He's climbing right on top of those Cornish crosses. I think that was a black ocelot. There's another one. He's just trying to do what it needs to do to get some water. So it definitely looks like it's time to get these Cornish crosses graduated out of here, outside into a bigger chicken tractor for them to be in. Their feathers are still developing. They're still a little bit young. So what I'm probably going to have to do is set up their chicken tractor once I move them outside to have a heat lamp inside of it, just to give them some warmth that they may need to protect them from the cooler temperatures. But they definitely have to come out of here because they're definitely taking up a lot more space than our layer chicks that we have in here. So, and we don't want to negatively affect the layer growth because of the Cornish crosses. But before I can even move them outside, I have to actually finish the chicken tractor that I've started for them. So just add that to the list of projects to do. It's never dull around a homestead. There's always projects to do. We're not just sitting around idle. There's always things to do. But before I do that project, what I need to do right now, and Mikey, you can help me out here, buddy, is we need to take out some of their pine shavings here, because we just had a problem. I was working outside, and Selah came running to me, Daddy, it's an emergency. I'm like, what is it? And she's like, the brooder is smoking. And she was like, but I poured water on the smoke and put it out. But our brooder was starting to catch on fire because the manure here in the pine shavings was heating up so much, it was starting to smoke. And that hasn't happened before. So one of the things that I'm going to start doing is, we're starting with today, is on a regular basis, I have been in the past just leaving the pine shavings on, letting them poop on it, and then just adding more pine shavings on top of that. And that seems to generate heat, which makes sense because in a compost pile, that's kind of how it goes. It starts generating heat. But we don't want the heat happening in here and burning up our birds. So what I'm going to start doing is just take it out, put new ones in. So that way we can hopefully avoid our brooder catching on fire. Hey, buddy.
Hey.
You're just in time to do me a favor. Could you go harvest some of that old lettuce that's in the garden and feed it to the ducklings, you and Micah, while I clean out the brooder?
Yeah.
Unless you'd rather switch, you clean up the poop and I'll get the lettuce.
Ow.
I didn't think so. All right. You can use that blue wagon right here.
And a stick of tape. Micah, you grab it by the root, right beside the root, and it will come out easier. I know how to do it. Yeah, this is how I do it. Like this. In my hand. What? This is how you do it. Okay. A little one very easy. Hello, little dinosaurs. Hello, little dinosaurs. Micah, let's step away so we can see if they eat it. Only one has been eating it.
I don't see any real signs of it creating any more heat like that. I think it got water with the manure and things just started heating up. Well, as I'm digging down a little bit lower, it is a little bit warmer. Still not that bad. In the area that Selah pointed out that it happened, it was near the lamp and water, but it wasn't like on top. Once I came through and looked at where it was like I dug underneath. You could see that it was like kind of somewhat dark on top, but as you dug underneath, it was darker and it was hot, like it was hot under here. So maybe it was just a combination of things, of the lamp, the manure, and some moisture just creating more heat. But I definitely don't feel as much heat this time. Can you believe the kids these days? They don't want to clean out the manure. Can't say I want to do it either, but it's not that bad of a job. Part of homesteading, part of the farm life. Besides commercial fertilizer that you could just go buy at your local hardware store nowadays, kids back in the day would go collect chicken manure, horse patties, and things like that to make their own fertilizer, which is actually the best fertilizer anyways. But how we're so disconnected from that nowadays is pretty amazing. Most people don't even have a clue of where food actually comes from, how it's produced, and we take so many things for granted. I normally wait to do this once everyone has graduated from the brooder, and then I usually clean it out from there. But I am raising more birds in here than we've had before, so that could be another part of it, because the poop is nitrogen, and nitrogen creates heat. Look at this slice of poop pie cake right here. Man. Want some? Maybe in your garden, but not to eat, right? Alrighty, so we have it mostly cleaned out. I'm still going to leave down on the other end of the brooder just because they spend most of their time down here, believe it or not, but their food's down there right now, so we'll keep an eye on that area. And I used to use the flakes for the pine shavings, but now I really like to use the really fine shavings here. I have found that the fine pine shavings break down much easier in the compost, which is where all this is going to. now's a good time to bring those wood ash. Well, the temperatures are starting to heat up, and speaking of heating up, we need to get this compost pile heated up, because right now it's mostly consisted of leaves, which haven't broken down the way I would like for it to. So adding the chicken manure, which is nitrogen, should help the leaves, the carbon, break down even more, because the chicken manure will add the fire, which really helps the breaking down process of your compost. You need that fire. I also have some wood ash here that will be spreading out through there, so hopefully we'll get that going. I also have some grass that I want to cut on the other side here that will help add, because it's still green. Cut it, bring it over here, and that will help add some more nitrogen as well, which will help things heat up. We're going to water it down and then cover it up to let the process really begin of breaking down and creating the type of compost that we want to use in the garden. And speaking of compost, there's a really good documentary done by Jeff Lawton called Soils. I'll leave the link for it in the show notes below. But it goes over step by step how to make good compost. And it was one of the best resources, videos that I've seen for making compost. And you can do it in as little as 18 days. It's pretty neat. Alrighty, now that we have our grass clippings right here, I'm gonna have Josiah use our pitchfork right here, our digging fork, and you're just gonna grab a little bit of it and put it in our compost as I'm turning the compost. And I'm actually gonna cheat a little bit with turning the compost. Since there's this brand new pile, I'm gonna use the mini cultivator here to blend it up. And then Mike over here, he's gonna be helping with adding the water, turning on the water over here at the water hose as I am blending this up. Josiah's adding the grass clippings, and we're just gonna hopefully generate some aerobic activity to help this pile start to burn. Is that right, guys?
Yeah.
There we go. Let's rock. Great job, fellas.
Thanks.
Appreciate the help.
Thanks.
You just want to keep digging, don't you? All right, well, now that I have everything kind of blended up, the pile is spread out now. I want to make sure we make more of a mound with it is what I typically do, and try to make sure that the compost pile is usually 3 to 4 feet in width, depth, and close to that in height, and gradually it will kind of break down even more than that. You can go compost piles even bigger than that, but you start to go too much smaller and you won't be able to have much success with it unless you're using a composter or something like that. But believe it or not, when we first started our homestead, one of the things that I used to go do is I would go around to a local company that a juice bar, they serve juices. So they have a number of locations, but I would go to one of their locations and get their juice pulp and put that in my compost. And I really enjoyed doing that. But it was quite the effort, but definitely helped to make good compost. It was a good contributing ingredient. Well, let me turn this into the mound and see if we keep rolling. Alrighty, now we have our compost pile covered, and I only have one more thing to add, which is a secret ingredient, but I will tell you about that another time. Actually, I'll tell you about that in an email newsletter. I'll also include a number of the things to break down as far as the carbon, the nitrogen, and things that are really good to add to your compost pile. So if you sign up for that, links in the show notes below, I'll get you that information, as well as the link for Jeff Lawton's Soils documentary. Well, this is the time of year that leaves are just falling off the trees. And why let those leaves go to waste? Yes, they're really productive in the forest area. That really provides them with the trees, with the natural mulch that they need. But why let your city come and pick them up? And which is not bad, because they will use them in various capacities, but you can use them as well. You can use them as mulch around your trees, and you can also use them to make really fresh compost. Just something to think about, because you can go buy compost and soil, but when you make it, it's going to be much, much better if you're adding a bunch of real ingredients. Your soil's going to have a lot more nutrients to it. Well, got a lot more work to do on home care, but I'll have to catch you next time.